This is Classic FM.
I'm delighted to welcome today to Classic FM Joyce DiDonato, here to talk about a really exciting event that's happening in your career. But first of all, I think it's a lovely time to take stock of what you're doing and what you've been up to. And I've been doing a little bit of research online, and a couple of things have come up about you. Grounded, articulate. And they're two words that crop up a lot when you look at responses from fans and things like that. And at the time when you're releasing a best-of album, what do you think it is, and how much do you think those attributes have contributed to taking you to the point in your career where you can produce a best-of album?
Wow, that's a good question. It's sort of one of those moments in your life where you think, have I really done all of that? Has that much time actually passed? And it's a little bit overwhelming in a way. But I think probably one of the driving forces that has sort of sustained me and has kept me going in this career is the idea to communicate and to reach out to people. I'm happy that they think I'm articulate. Oftentimes I don't feel anything but articulate. But I think it's this idea that I really want to interact with people and I want to connect with them. And one of certainly the most powerful and profound ways to do that is through the music. But it's also through these kind of platforms and actually really getting out and interacting with the fans, which has been sort of the genesis of this whole project.
And throughout your career, how have you noticed social media has impacted your relationship with your fans and audiences?
It's been extraordinary, and it has been a complete surprise, because if we're talking about going back 10 years of recording, there really wasn't much social media then. I don't even think I got a website until probably 2006, maybe, or 2005 or 6. We had no Facebook, we had no Twitter. I was figuring out how to text on cell phones. So it's been rapid, and it's been evolutionary in a huge way in this last decade. What I think has been lovely is not only it's put me in touch with fans, but it's really driven home for me the idea of how much hunger there is in young people that are really dreaming of making it in this career, or they're just fascinated with this operatic world and they're dying to know more of it. And it's really given me a platform. I've sort of taken it and run with it to actually really interact with them and make them really, I think, invite them and say, I want you to be a part of this. We, the opera community, need you to be a part of this, and to sort of bring them in and help them. They're really starting to navigate the course of ticket sales and the course of marketing and things. It's thrilling to bring them along.
Well, you say thrilling. I mean, how pleasing is it when you see opera, which, you know, we all know about the divide and the debate and all these things that have been said about opera being elite, and I really feel, and I'd be interested to know if you do, that is changing. That is starting to not be the norm now.
I agree with you. I think it's also, we've played into a stereotype of our own. We've played into stereotypes that opera is stand and sing, that opera is for the rich and the old. And some of those things have been true, but it's never been the only thing about opera. And even over the last, starting certainly with Maria Callas, but when opera was created, it was the popular art form, and it was engaging. Otherwise, it wouldn't have survived thousands or hundreds of years. I was thinking centuries. So articulate, right? It wouldn't have survived hundreds of years. We go back and we do pieces, especially Handel now. We go back and it feels so modern and so fresh. It's really an extraordinary thing. And I think by inviting the young people in, they're forcing our hand to make sure that we keep it fresh. It's not that we're changing the quality or the product, because that's sort of my mission. It's like, we don't need to dumb down the music. We need to rethink the way we're presenting it sometimes, and the way that we're bringing it into the 21st century. Not the actual product, because that's pretty spectacular on its own, but just the way we interact and the way we find new ways of bringing people in.
And you are giving people, anybody really, anybody who loves your music, a real chance to have a guiding steer in your album. Tell us what you're asking people to do.
I'm essentially asking them to help me produce it. I think I want them to be the producers. I want them to, in a way, I wouldn't be where I am today if there weren't people listening, and if there weren't enthusiastic people, writing and saying this has changed my life, or this has helped me define what I want to do, or this has opened my heart in ways I didn't expect it to. And amazingly, I get that kind of feedback from people all the time. It's extraordinary to me. And so this is a tribute to the fans in a way, and it's a way to say, you are the integral reason of why this music continues. And so I really want them to step up. I want them to have a say in the direction of how this goes. I'm asking them to help me find a title, to tell me what their favorite tracks are over these, I think, 14 albums that I've done in the last 10 years. Oh my gosh, no wonder I'm a little tired. I want them to help do the liner notes. I want them to write in and tell what this music has meant to them. And I want them to share their images with me. And so that it really becomes an idea of this idea that it's not just about a star singing opera, but opera is a collaborative, communicative thing. It works best when we all come into this and say, we're going to play this story and you're going to believe it, and we're going to take this journey together for a couple hours. And it's the thing that I love most about it, is sharing it.
And they do that through Facebook, through Twitter, through your websites,
yeah.
all these different
YouTube.
ways.
Yeah. I'm not on Tumblr yet, but somebody
come
probably
on.
is. I know, what am I doing, right?
But how hard, very creatively, you have steered the course of your albums, your recordings, in collaboration with many, many great artists and producers and things. So how difficult or otherwise is it to take a step back and think, I can't have any say in this whatsoever?
Well, it's exciting. And actually, it's not so difficult. What's difficult is I'm looking at this and saying, how do we only put this on 2 discs? Because it will be a double disc issue, which is, I'd sort of like it to be 5 discs or something. Because I think, oh, but that was really good. Oh, I love that aria. What my criteria has been for all of these albums that I've done is I've only wanted to do things that I thought I could do well. And I've only let them pass into the final edit if I thought they were the best that I could do at that moment. There's a huge part of me that wants to go back to the beginning and re-record everything, because I would do so much of it very differently now. But what's lovely about this kind of retrospective look is that they're all fingerprints of where I was as an artist at that time. And so I have to stand by that. If it made past the final edit, I think at that time, then I stand by it, and it's a representation of where I was.
And I'm not going to ask you what you would put on, because I don't want anybody to be swayed.
Right.
But you talk about best ofs, and it will be a best of album out in September. If you could give me your best moment rather than sort of your best recording, what would you pick for that?
I don't know that I can, because they all felt like the best moment at the time. Every single project that I've been a part of has been a passionate one for me. It's been something that I've learned so much of. I go back to Amore e Gelosia. It's the first real significant piece that I did, this duet disc with Patrizia Cioffi, and I still think it's some of the best collaborative music making I've done. But it was 10 years ago, and I'm sure I would sing it very differently now, and I would probably be more active with the conductor saying, oh, we could try this, we could try that. I suppose it's probably because it's the most current. I think Drama Queens has been the most personal project for me, and it's been one where I was able to sort of resurrect some music, and that's a very rewarding thing for me, because I believe so much in creation of music and new works, and we need new composition being done. This almost felt like the best of both worlds, because I was bringing back music that nobody knew, introducing it in modern times, but this music that I feel so deeply, the music of the Baroque, which is so personal and so expressive and so liberating. And I think, I've done now 19 concerts of it. I mean, that's the most concerts I've ever done of a project. And so it's just grown so much with me. So probably that's been my current best moment.
And are you better now at handling your time and making sure that you have Joyce time and you have performance time?
I had a couple of pretty brutal years where I sort of crawled over the finish line at the end of the season. And so now I'm very good about, even if it's only 5 days between projects, trying very much not to go from one to the next. I had a really lovely chunk of time off before coming here to London, and I'm making sure that I put that into the schedule now, because the voice seems to hold up okay, touch wood, but I want to make sure that I've replenished the coffers. I've got a reservoir of energy, and excitement to draw from, because that's the kind of performer I am, and I can't ever manufacture that in a false way. So rest is important.
And how do you react to a recent claim we've had here in London that modern opera performers, they don't work as hard as their predecessors? Now, speaking to a lady who has performed on stage in crutches and in a wheelchair, I mean, it's a difficult question to ask you, but it is something that has been talked about quite a lot here in London recently.
I've followed the discussion a little bit. I see both sides of it. I do see both sides of it. It's a confusing time because it's talking about multimedia, right? It's the age of the camera. It's the age of being scrutinized in high definition. I think if I was starting out now, it would be confusing to think, oh, I've got to get to the gym. I better get to the gym. And that almost seems like sometimes that's the first priority for singers. Do I need to find a publicist? How do I get all this? And they're 10 steps ahead of themselves. I'm a big believer that nothing will last or work unless the foundation of artistry and technique is there. So I'm still about get to the studio first and make sure, go to the gym, by all means, get healthy and put yourself in good physical shape, because that's a paramount part of what we do now too. But none of that is worth anything if the technique and the instrument isn't serving expressive artistic purposes. I will say, you can always look back on Monday morning about the game on Saturday and, said, it's impossible for me to talk about the way things were 40 years ago. I can't address that because I wasn't actually here. But I think the demands and what is asked of us today is extraordinary. In terms of travel is much greater than it used to be. We are expected to spend several hours in the gym every week and be in physical shape. It's just by what we need to do on the stage. There's a lot more demand, certainly at the top level, record companies pulling you in every direction, and which I love. But it's, there's a lot more PR involved. There's a lot more extracurricular things rather than just going on stage and singing. So those demands are exhausting, and everybody wants a piece of you, so you say yes to everything, and then you end up in trouble. Then you need to cancel. There needs to be, ultimately it's the fault of the artist, because we are always the one who can say no, and we have to take that personal responsibility. But the theaters are also, and the managers are also a part of this puzzle, because they're pushing us and they're wanting everything from us as well. And there just needs to be, if we're working 5 years out, how in the world are we going to know what kind of shape we're going to be in 5 years? So I speak for myself. I make the best educated guess possible. I try and do the work. I try and give my best. But at some point, if I just simply can't do it, I'm not a machine. So it goes down on both sides of the equation, I think.
And you've talked about how incredible the demands are on a modern performer. Which kind of leads me on to, I think, another passion of yours, which is food.
Yes.
Yes. And before we let you go, at Classic FM, we're big cake fans. We're quite a lot of foodie fans up in the office here at Classic.
And I liked it here.
We just wanted to ask you, were you to enter the Classic FM Bake Off, what would you bake for us?
Does it have to be cakes or can it be sweets?
It can be sweets.
Okay. My latest craze, it's an amazing Rosemary Shortbread.
Okay. You're
5 ingredients. It's butter, flour, sea salt, rosemary. There's one other little simple ingredient, and not so bad. Lemon zest. Oh, and pecans. I put pecans in it. And they're savory and they're sweet, and it's with the fresh rosemary, it's unlike anything you've ever seen. Oh, sugar. Yeah, okay. That's the other ingredient, but not a lot of it. Yeah. I'm a good baker.
Is it therapeutic?
I love it.
Yeah.
But I have to be in a good kitchen. So when I travel all the time, if I'm in sort of an understaffed kitchen, not staffed, wait up, but the knives aren't good or something, it's a little hard to get inspired. But I love baking. I'm going to bake you guys something.
Well, then you are more than welcome to come and see us anytime you like.
Great. What do you make?
I'd say I do a good Jaffa slice, orange and chocolate slice. And a cherry bakewell cupcake, so we can exchange.
Oh, good. Very good.
Yeah. So, well, before we let you go back to the kitchen, there are several. You're not passing one without going in there now. Just tell people how they can get involved with your album and how they can keep following you and keep contributing to the album.
Well, that's great. I mean, I the sort of hub of activity is going to be around my Facebook page, which is just Joyce DiDonato fan page. I'll be on Twitter like crazy. They'll find things on my YouTube and on my website, but mainly Facebook. So when they have the idea for the title, or they're sending in pictures, I hope they go crazy, because I want to see pictures of them dressed as their favorite role of mine, or dressed up on their album cover, and they can make videos. I mean, I want this to be a lot of fun for everybody, and I want to get dialogue going. But the hub will be around Facebook, but we'll find everything on Twitter and YouTube. And it's all
Great.
good.
How exciting. Thank you so much for coming in to see us
Thank
at Classic
you.
FM. Thank you.
So happy to be here.
Good.